Yashodanandana Janaranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Yamunatira Vanacha
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanacha
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
SEIMAD Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Can I get the hot water? Not super hot, but
Warm. Okay,
hot, but not boiling, burning hot. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye
Jayamudiraye
Nastaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Ashtaprayesu Abhadresu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavad Utama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki
SEIMAD Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 5, text 10. This is Narada's instructions on to Vasudeva. This is
5:10:1, right?
5:1, first canto, chapter 5, verse 10. This one is connected to yesterday's. They all are, but especially very important. It's the basis of our movement. Na yad
Mayat
vachas
Vacha
tattva chitra
Chitra
padam
Padam
hare
Hare
yasho
Yesu
jagat pavitram pragnita karichit
Parichit
tad
Tat
vyayasam
Vaisam
tirtam
Etam
ushanti
Usanti
manasa
Manasa
nayatra
Nayatra
hamsa
Hamsa
niramant yashikshaya
Niramanti Vishikshaya
nayad vachas chitra padam harer yasho
Nayat Vaschat Chitta Padam Hare Yaso
jagat pavitram pragnita karichit
Jagat Paritam Pargamita Karichi
tadvayasam tirtam ushanti manasa
Tadvaishyam Vijanti Kusanti Manasa
nayatra hamsa niramant yashikshaya
Nayatra Hamsa Nimantri Kuksi Keshya
nayad vachas chitra padam harer yasho
Nayat Vasat Chitra Padam Hare Yasho
jagat pavitram pragnita karichit
Karichi
tadvayasam tirtam ushanti manasa
Manasa
nayatra hamsa niramant yashikshaya
Nayatra Hamsa Niramit Uttishkeshaya Nayat Prakas Chitra Padam Hare Yaso Jagat Pravitam Praginita Karachitya Tatvayasam Tidaham Usanti Manasa
sam tirtam santi manasa
Nayatra hamsa niramit ukis kisheha.
nayatra hamsa niramanti shikshaya na
Na.
not
Not.
yet
Yet.
that
That.
oh wait a minute, it should have been the next verse. That was yesterday. Supposed to be 11. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo. Yasmin pratislokam abhadyadat yapi. Namam yanantasya yashon kitani yat. Shinvanti gayanti grinanti sadava. Hare Krishna. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo.
Tadvag visago jagata viplavo.
Yasmin pratishlokam abhadyadat yapi.
Yasmin prati silokam abratya api.
Namam yanantasya yashon kitani yat.
Namami antasya yaso nikantiya.
Shinvanti gayanti grinanti sadava.
Siyanti gayanti niganti sadaya.
Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo.
Tadviga visago jaganaka vilabo.
Yasmin pratishlokam abhadyadat yapi.
Yasmin parati silokam abrahatraya api.
Namam yanantasya yashon kitani yat.
Namami atansya yaso nikaniya.
Shinvanti gayanti grinanti sadava.
Sayanti gayanti sadabhya. Tadbhag vikaso jagata ga vipalavo.
Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo.
Yasmin prati slokam abhadyavati api.
Yasmin pratishlokam abhadyavatyapi.
Namami anantasya yaso nitaniya.
Namam yanantasya yashon kitani yat.
Shivanti gayanti ganiti tadabhya.
Shinvanti gayanti grinanti sadava. Tat,
That.
that, vak,
Wow.
vocabulary.
Vocabulary.
Visarga,
Visaga.
creation.
Creation.
Janata, the
Janata.
people in general.
People in general.
Aga,
Aga.
sins.
Sin.
Biplava,
Viplava.
revolutionary.
Revelation.
Yasmin,
Yasmin.
in which
In which
pratishlokam,
Plati Shloka.
each and every stanza,
Each and every stanza.
abhadyavati,
Abhadya Bhakti.
irregularly composed.
Irregulation composed.
Api,
Api.
in spite of.
In spite of.
Namani,
Namani.
transcendental names,
Transcendental name.
etc.
Extra.
Anantasya,
Anantasya.
of the unlimited Lord.
Of the unlimited of Lord.
Yasha,
Yasha.
glories.
Glory.
Ankitani,
Antigami.
depicted.
Depicted.
Yat,
Yet.
what?
What?
Shrinvanti,
Shivanti.
do hear.
Do hear.
Gayanti, do
Gayanti.
sing.
Do.
Grananti,
Ginanti.
do accept.
To accept.
Sadhava,
Sadhava.
the purified men who are honest.
To purify men who are the honest.
Translation. On the other hand, that literature can repeat. On the other hand,
On the other hand,
that literature which is full of descriptions
that literature which full of description
of the transcendental glories of the Lord,
of the transcendental glory of the
name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc.,
name, fame, form, pastime, extra
of the unlimited Supreme Lord
of the unlimited Supreme Lord
is a different creation,
is different creation,
full of transcendental words,
full of transcendental words,
directed toward bringing about a revolution
directed to what bring about the relation
in the
in the
impious lives of the world's misdirected
entire life
civilization.
of this world embraced it.
Such transcendental literatures
such transcendental literature,
even though imperfectly composed,
even though imperfectly composed,
are heard, sung, and accepted
are heard, sung, and accepted
by purified men
by purified men
who are thoroughly honest.
who are truly honest.
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 That's a very long purport. And this is like the essence of our movement. It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. It is said that intelligent man should pick up nectar from poison, should accept gold from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from untouchables. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. That's Chanika Pandit. But he took everything from scripture. Prabhupada gives example like, you don't care if the Muslim's selling gold or a Hindu or a Christian or a militia, if it's gold. Nobody says that this is Muslim gold. But other things they do, like the meat. I was on one plane and the Muslim guy was next to me and he was insisting I had to have vegetarian. So I asked him, are you vegetarian? He said, no, but I don't know who's cooking here. If the meat's cooked by Muslims, then you can eat it, but otherwise. So it's not the food. So, but for gold, nobody will care. And of course, foolish societies will reject a good wife if she's not from the right family, and they'll accept a bad one even if she is supposedly from the right family. He said if you give good instruction to a fool and become angry. But if a fool gives good instruction to a wise man, he'll be grateful. He'll be able to see that this is a good instruction. He won't say, I don't have to listen to this person, because he's not Brahmana or something. He'll get a good lesson. The saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He's always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures like SEIMAD Bhagavatam, people become sane in their transactions. While preparing the commentation of this particular stanza of SEIMAD Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit. We have practically no business in the political field, yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling, because it was the atmosphere of God consciousness. And every country over the service of the Lord was God-fearing, pure-hearted and simple. There was no question of political diplomacy. So that, talking about very far back, there's no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land which is not very suitable for habitation. Certainly there's no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This is not due to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of the age. Systematically, there is propaganda by a section of people to stop the glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. That it's interesting because, this, like when Prabhupada wrote this, it was before he came to America, then it wasn't a problem anymore. But then recently it was again. So somebody might read, oh, what is this, but again, I don't know what happened, but there was a big problem, and the Chinese were saying India doesn't want peace, and Indians were saying the Chinese are just demons. That land they're fighting over, nobody lives there. But these things are going on, it's just, it's, to politics, what they do to cover up the internal problems is stress how there's an external enemy. America, the axis of evil, they listed a few countries. They're always talking, when I was young, it was the Russians. We'd have air raid practices in the school. And then we had to dive up down on the floor or something, I can't remember exactly. But after a while, we never, if a real one would have come, nobody would know, because nobody paid any attention to it. But they had, people were building bomb shelters, underground, stocking food and water. They had signs on the highway, evacuation route, how to get out of the city. Keep your gas tank at least half full in case you have to run, because the Russians could bomb us out any minute. They never did. The Russians were saying the same thing about America. And they were both doing it, but to different countries. They don't fight each other because it's too big, or whatever reason, or else they're partners. And this goes on all levels. There's quarreling. This is Kali Yuga. Devotees quarrel with each other. Husband and wife quarrel. They don't even know why. When you get down to it, they have no real reason. They're just quarreling. Like monkeys. So, very easy to create quarrels. So we have divorce, we have wars, we have companies going bad, temples getting all kinds of trouble. It's Kali Yuga. And we have to recognize that what is the ultimate problem is the Kali Yuga. And how to defeat the Kali when there's no glorification of the Lord. But no, I don't have time to glorify the Lord because we have to take care of this and take care of that. But there's kirtan, and especially spreading Sankirtan, everybody chanting, and books and distributing the books. It's just Prabhupada was saying this before he ever distributed any books back then. It wasn't that he was trying to make business like Prabhupada's son, the demon's son. He said Prabhupada went to America just to make a lot of money and get rich selling books. But he didn't, Prabhupada himself didn't know if anybody would care about the books. But somehow they did. But the books that went in the bookstores hardly ever sold. Even after Prabhupada's disappearance, devotees went around to all the bookshops in New York and they found so many books. But when devotees approach people and give it to them and talk about it, then they sell. So Prabhupada was able to inspire, and it's changing. There's so many people, but many things in the world are changing also. Both ways, because Kali is advancing. The good part of Kali is the Sankirtan movement, people moving a little bit towards the mode of goodness. So we have, non-violent movements, and we have vegetarian, and now vegan, and anti-abortion, and all these things which were going so strong before Prabhupada came. Of course, India now is going the other way. Something like 80% of Indians are non-veg now. Because they're getting money and they want to experiment. Everywhere, China, they don't eat dogs so much anymore, they eat beef. They have more money. Eating dogs is very sinful. Eating cow is much more sinful, much healthier. Cow meat is the best meat, and the healthiest meat, but it's also the most sinful. So Prabhupada said, we are confident that the transcendental message of Bhagavatam is received even by leading men of the world. There will be a change of heart, and people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general, and re-spiritualizing the world's atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially in foreign language, will certainly fail, and there will be so many literary discrepancies despite of our honest attempt to present it in a proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders in society will accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty Lord. This was written way before Prabhupada. It's the first canto, the early part of the first volume. But he said the same thing when he arrived in America in his poem, that I don't know, this is such a horrible place, people are so sinful, but if they will hear the message of SEIMAD Bhagavatam, I know that will work. So he believed it. And Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pukasha Yavana Kashadaya Yayanye Chapapa Yadapashaya Saya Shudyanti Asmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. That if even the so-called uncivilized people, that's a long list of different tribes or different parts of the world are considered uncivilized by, the Brahminical culture or whatever. They're still like that. The Hindus are even saying that the American cows aren't cows, they're pigs. Only Indians can be gurus. Only Desi cows have real milk, and everyone else is uncivilized. Not true. The soul is the same everywhere. So if the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, it says in the verse here, even if imperfectly composed, it still has an effect. Of course, then Prabhupada wanted the books to be presented properly composed. But there's also a message for us for preaching. Sometimes we think, well, I don't know enough, I'm not articulate enough, how can I preach? But anyone can. If you're just trying to glorify Krishna, the sincerity is what affects people, not the quality of one's oration. There's so many people that are great orators, even they can so-called be reciting Gita or Bhagavatam, but they don't make people devotees. They get a lot of money. Vrindavan is full of them, right? Bhagavad Katha. They're not making devotees. But they go out and they make lakhs of rupees just going outside of Vrindavan, doing some Katha because they're Brijvasis, Mahant, and whatever they call them. And they're all mindless. But they're not making any devotees. But devotees going out and distributing books, and devotees who have no education practically sometimes, are making devotees. Just by telling people this is so nice, I love it, you please read this, I think you'll like it. And that Prabhupada said they'd never seen a sincere person before. So this is our mission, and when we're focused on that, then we don't have problems. But when we focus on, our little bit of intelligence for scrutinizing and finding fault in everything, and eventually we find fault in Prabhupada and Krishna, and many people go away. So we have to be gentlemen, though. We have to be kind to everybody, especially, like I was saying yesterday, you depend on your customers, right? So you treat the customer always with a big smile, completely polite, you tolerate. Because if you make one little mistake, maybe you've halfway made their orders and they just say, forget it, I don't like you, right? And then you're stuck with it. Fits them, doesn't fit anybody else. They tell all their friends, go next door. So we're very careful, but with our own family, sometimes we're not so careful. We think these people depend on me, so I don't have to be nice to them. They have to be nice to me. So but we should think that everybody, I think Bhakti Church said, we should think every devotee, these might be the people that we have to depend on when we get sick or when we're in a deathbed or something. So if we've been offending them, they might not want to help us. But devotees are very kind, and in an emergency they usually come through anyway. But we have to be gentlemen. So Prabhupada is saying there's a great need for giving this SEIMAD Bhagavatam all over the world. It's the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast this message throughout the world. Now they're doing that. But at that time, Prabhupada, very few Indian disciples. And some of them were there just because of a lot of money or trying to get a white wife or something. A few of them were really good, still going. But very few. Now, so many. Because the dancing white elephants somehow, got to enliven. And things are changing. So every temple in India is so many devotees, so many guests coming. As soon as they open a temple, thousands of people are coming every day. But other countries, it doesn't look like that. Yeah, see, no matter how nice temple you make, they go to the shopping malls, they go to the casinos, they build those bigger buildings, more fancy. They'll pay thousands of dollars a day for a hotel. Right? They pay for whiskey, Indians. I was walking through Delhi airport, and the first thing is the big whiskey shop. After you come in, you can't help it. There's no way to get to your gate without walking through the whiskey shop. And I see this whiskey, $300, $400. And I was thinking, who would buy that? Whiskey you can buy for $2. What's the difference? After you take one drop, even professional wine tasters, they never swallow it. Then they wash their mouth with hot water. Because if they swallow it, they won't be able to know the difference between one and the next. They know that. So once you drink one little bit, who cares, So there was a devotee working there in the duty free, and I said, who will buy this $300 whiskey, Johnny Walker or whatever it is? And he said, no, they come here and look at this. And in the backside, they had whiskey, $3,000 up to $6,000. One, not even a liter of whiskey, 750 or something. Very opulent bottle though, 50 years old, Somebody buys it, and I got so bewildered. I even looked in a few other airports. Nobody had anything more than $200. But India, $6,000 whiskey. I couldn't believe it even exists. Wine, they'll pay $50,000. Some special wine. And then just drink it down. The big military guys in Thailand show up. So this is madness. But they don't want to give you $5 for a bottle. Because they don't, unless we can show them how valuable it is, if we can convince them. If we can only show that by our own behavior. So when happy devotees mean more devotees. That's the most powerful preaching. Happy families, especially. The Mormon church, it grows all the time. They only talk about the family. They don't have much. They do have philosophy in their books, but mostly they don't talk about that. They only talk about happy families. And people want that. And they do take care of their families. They do spend a lot of time with their children, and they take part in many things, and they take care of each other. People mistake, like they say the GBC, that they should take care of everybody, like the Mormons. The Mormons church, they don't take care of, they take the money. But the people take care of each other. Their communities, everybody gives money regularly for a special fund that if anybody gets sick or, broke or husband dies or something, they have money to help the family. They keep a big stock of food grains, and they have shops where they sell everything very cheap, and they let anybody come, not only their own members. So that's a higher consciousness, They might not know very much philosophically, and they don't know that God is blue and he plays a flute and he's a coward. But they trust in God. Whereas some devotees are just thinking, I know so much, I know some slokas, we're better than everybody else. That won't inspire anybody. So Prabhupada had this idea in the first place to go to the leaders of society, but he saw they're so degraded, the politicians and everybody, can't do anything. So Krishna sent him all the dropouts of society. So because they were renounced, and therefore they could see, and they knew that there was no real value in the material world, in money and material luxuries and everything. Like Prahlad, he said, I've seen my father, he had all power, he had all riches, he had everything, but he was never happy. Ambarish Prabhu, you know him? So when his mother died, he brought the ashes to Mayapur and he gave Bhagavatam class. He said, my mother helped me to become a devotee. She inspired me. He said, not because she was religious or anything, but because she was so miserable. She was so unhappy. It's one of the richest women in the world. So materially has everything, fame, houses all over the world, anything she wants. She's the only granddaughter of Henry Ford, a special favor. But she was never happy drunkard. So he understood this is not, what to go after, these things. He even told me one time, he said, I could never understand what I was doing in that family. Because everybody, all his cousins, everybody just mad after money and building up the business, and he never cared. I told him, now you know, because now you can utilize that. We went to one temple opening in Rajkot. I think there were about 10 sannyasis there, and he was there. And all the reporters came. Where's Mr. Ford? Where's Mr. Ford? Where's Mr. Ford? Nobody cared to talk to anybody else. So, it's a valuable asset if you use it for Krishna. So now he's took over that whole project, and the TOVP is really coming up. And people admire to see him going around and asking for donations, giving so much. And I heard he had to borrow that money, actually. He doesn't have access to so much money. It's all in trusts, but he has income, so the bank will loan him big money, because they know he can pay it back. Because they can take it. But he did it. He didn't have to do that. But Prabhupada, first thing Prabhupada asked him, so you can build Mayapur. He didn't even know, never heard of Mayapur. You can help us build a temple in Mayapur. And when he was introduced to Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, Ford, fix or repair daily. And then an Ambarish said something like found on the road dead or something. And then Prabhupada laughed and he said, there was a man in India who claimed by the sound of a car going by he could tell you what kind of car it was. So they tested him, blindfold, and one car went by and he said, Ambassador. Another car went by and he said, Padmini or whatever. In those days they only had two. Then a cart went by that was selling stainless steel dishes and stuff, and making so much rattling noise. He said, Ford. Then Ambarish laughed. So that was how Prabhupada wasn't like, ooh, Mr. Ford, I have to bow down and touch his feet. He joked about that, that it's not really such a big deal, but he engaged him, in many ways. So whatever we have, Prabhupada was equally pleased with the devotee who had nothing, but gave it all to Krishna. Just try to serve Krishna with whatever we have. So the atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows that. It's on the news constantly. In South Africa, all the signs everywhere, stop corruption. It's a big campaign in India, right? But corruption is everywhere. In some places, like America, they hide it much better. Japan, but so much corruption. That's Kali Yuga. So the government nor the leaders want such literature as the Bhagavatam. Oh, no, I'm saying there are many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. And in many countries there are bodies appointed to detect and censor obscene literature. I don't know if they still do that. Now they promote it. Right? When I was young, to buy pornography, it was only one dirty town, far away part of town. You couldn't buy it just anywhere. And people were afraid to go to that neighborhood because if somebody saw them, they'd know what they're doing. Now it's just push a few buttons and get much worse pornography. You have to be careful on the internet. So people in general want to read, that's natural, but their minds are polluted, so they want these obscene, terrible things. Transcendental literature like the Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people, but also will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning they may not like it because suffering from jaundice is reluctant to give sugar candy, but we should take that sugar candy as the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be a systematic propaganda for popularizing reading the Bhagavad Gita and SEIMAD Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When the men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures, which are catering poison to society, will automatically cease. There's still a long way to go. But for many people now, they only read Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Just went out. Many people, that's a fact. They don't read other things anymore. We might have to read the news. You might have to read your, big entrepreneurs. They said that. What's his name? The big investor, Warren Buffett. He reads like 80% of his day. He reads nonfiction. Studying business, how things are going. We should be reading Bhagavatam like that, Bhagavad Gita. This example of jaundice, anybody ever have jaundice? You had that? You ever had jaundice? I got it once, and it was a very chaotic time. I was in Bombay. It was the time of the big riot, and I got it right before that happened, and so it was very crazy. And devotees came in with this crystal sugar, and we didn't know. Prabhupada said you eat that with papaya. It's supposed to be green papaya, then you boil and make soup. But nobody knew about green papaya, So they gave me papaya. That sugar candy, and everybody was in a hurry because there's so much crazy stuff. So they just came in and left it, and then I tried to eat it, and it tasted so bad. I thought they got cheated. This is not sugar, They were cheated in the market. This is battery acid. It tasted so bad, and the papaya tasted so rotten. And the others were eating from the same papaya. No, it's really good. I said, no, it's rotten. The only thing that ever tasted good, I found in the closet one can, and inside was this black, really rotten, old-looking stuff. So I thought, oh, what is this? And I throw away. And the Sridhar Swami said, no, that's lemon pickles, 10-year-old lemon pickles. So I tried it, and it tasted so good. I ate huge. I ate half of it. It tasted so good, and then the next day I ate the rest of it, and then I started to get better. But the sugar candy is. So that's why we try to chant sometimes, but I can't chant. I have to do so many other things. I'm looking for some nectar, some gossip, some news. What's going on in the world? What's the latest thing that Mr. Trump did for the Americans? So people just make up all kinds. Nobody knows what's going on. When he said he's going to build a wall, in Mexico, first place, can only build a wall in a few places because the borders are very, very rough. And the Mexicans said, but we use tunnels. They have these tunnels where they can drive trailer trucks through full of marijuana, So it's not going to work, But the people think, oh yeah, good. And that's not the problem. The problem is that there's, that even though there's so many churches and people go to church, but there's no real God consciousness. It's still sinful. They don't even know what sinful activities are. Some do, but as far as in America, the Christians, they think killing cows is a religious principle. God gave you the cow, it's true, as a special gift, right? For milk, but they think for the meat, it's God's special gift. And there's so many cows anyway, if you don't kill them. One Muslim girl in Bali, her family told her, if you don't kill the cows, they're going to take over. Or they give the animals so much antiseptic and not antiseptic, but whatever it's called. When you get sick, you get anti-something. So they give the animals so many. So they said, if you don't eat the meat, then you won't get enough medicine and you'll get sick. Oh, Kali is very expert. So we need that guru, and you need so when you keep eating the sugar candy, then when the sickness goes away, it tastes good. That's how you know the sickness is gone. So if we keep chanting and we keep reading the Bhagavatam and we keep working together, there's one Christian in America is one of the biggest mega churches, and his preaching is quite powerful, at least for getting people to stop drunkenness and drug addict, and not for meat eating, but there's different levels. So he said you have to work with the church, because in order to surrender to God, you have to be tolerant, and by trying to work together, we have to become tolerant. They were forced, kicked by Maya. Just heard Prabhupada saying, just like if the prison is meant to reform, they don't normally do that anymore, but it's meant to reform the prisoners and make them Hare Krishna. So the head of the prison, the program is supposed to be to make people get better. Sometimes they do that, but so Maya is doing that to us, kicking Adi Bautik, Adi Daivik, all these things, trying to make us realize that we can't enjoy in this material world. But some people don't, most people don't understand, and we have to show them a very blissful society of devotees. We have the books, we have to read them, not just distribute them, and not just read them. Some devotees just want to study all the time, preach all the time. But we need a balance, like someone else. We have to balance our material and spiritual life. We have to be, have to see what we can do. We have so much material life we have to do, so we can't. It's like a tightrope. It's seen in the circus, tightrope walker, right? So if he falls off this side or that side, it doesn't matter. It's dangerous, right? Or these mountain bike people, they're going on this wide at the top of the mountain. Insanity. So if they fall this way or that way, it's the same, So you have to keep the balance. So the tightrope walker, they'll have a big pole or something to help balance. Some of them, they don't need that. But they have to be very, very practiced, and they can't be looking down. Right? Can't be just looking over saying, well, maybe I need a little more material life. Because too much of that, well, then the spiritual life goes. And if you try to do too much spiritual, then the material life suffers, and then we can't do the spiritual. If you don't have an income and you can't pay your rent and you can't afford to eat, you're not going to have very good sadhana probably. If your kids are always crying, you can't pay the school fees, and some men do that. Not devotees so much, but karmis. I was on a bus in Africa, and they have these movies, African movies. And it's in their language, and the devotee told me what's going on. Because right in the beginning, it was the women just beating their husbands like anything, screaming at him and beating him. And the husbands just ran away. And he said, the women were saying, you rascal, you always said, you didn't have money to pay the school fees, but you've been gambling, and that's where all the money went. And they just beat the husbands to tragically to death, and they ran away. But these things go on. So we have to be very careful that everyone is Krishna's representative. And how can we encourage everybody to read Bhagavatam, attend the class? Nowadays, for many people, the class time is not suitable if you're working. But by the grace of Maya, we have and Kali, we have the internet. So you can tune into any kind of class you want, any language practically from anywhere in the world at any time. So it's a very good arrangement if people take advantage of it. Everybody has the equipment already. Everyone's paying their few $100 to have internet. It's no big thing, right? But it doesn't cost anything. You don't have to get in your car and go somewhere. You don't have to travel. But some people do. A devotee from Russia came and asked me, we want to ask a question. He said, we've been trying to revive the participation in Mangal Arti. Some of their people are driving 100 kilometers to come to Mangalarti. Then they go to work. I said, is that all right? I said, yeah, if they can do it. They have to get up at 2 o'clock and drive. But they're doing that. Whereas in Los Angeles, many people live across the street, but they can't. They would say that's the widest street in the world. You know, they couldn't get across for Mangalarti. Many can't come to class because they already have to go to work. And mothers have to take their kids to school. So we can't condemn that, but we have to try to make available. Go out, be everywhere, make centers everywhere. All right, so this verse is very important. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome SEIMAD Bhagavatam, even though it's now presented with so many faults, because it's recommended by Narada Muni, who very kindly appeared in this chapter. Narada Muni's there. Whoever the Bhagavatam is alive, the Prabhupada is always there. Vyas, Narada, Parikshit, Arjuna, whoever it is, and Shringadev, they're actually there. They're giving us perfect instructions. Prabhupada then, when he had devotees to type up his manuscripts, he was happy when they could correct the English. But even if it's not corrected, it still has good effect. So take it that we can preach, we may not be very learned scholars, we may not be eloquent speakers, but that doesn't matter. There's so many eloquent speakers in the world, and maybe they get a lot of money, but they never make people devoted. Even all these. I was at Ravi's house long ago, and they had some sadhu channel or something on, just one after another, Mayavadis, blah, 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 blah. And people listen, but nobody's becoming devotees. The Bhagavad Gita says, become my devotee. It said twice, become my devotee. But nobody, there were many Bhagavad Gitas in India, of course, but even in English, people were reading them, not like they are now, not the numbers now that Prabhupada pushed it, but nobody ever became devotee. Mayavadis will tell you that it's not even, there's no such thing as Krishna, even though they're so-called teaching Bhagavad Gita. Gandhi, he was supposedly teaching Bhagavad Gita, but he said, I don't believe there ever was a person Krishna. And Kurukshetra means the body, and Pandavas mean the 5 senses, and all kinds of insanity. They don't think it's real. They don't believe it. But it is. Prabhupada brought it to life. He gave us, Lord Chaitanya. So we take advantage and have more and more kirtan festivals. Because when everybody's chanting, then we don't think too much about everything. In a class, you see many people jump up and answer their phone. I don't see that in the kirtan. Some people, they can't put it down. So you wonder, how did society work without those? No phone, and how did you ever find anything? Now every taxi in the world, they have a navigator. Taxis always found. I don't know London taxis. The London taxi, they have to memorize and be able to find any spot in entire London without a map before they can get the license. But now they have Uber cab and stuff, and then they can use navigators, and they run much cheaper. But people did that, or they had a map, and they had to read the map. We always got somewhere, we always met, right? Prabhupada didn't even hardly use telephone. Just letters. And ran the whole movement. He didn't like the telephone. When he went to LA, some of the West Coast, and devotees would call him from the East Coast, but there's a 4-hour time distance. And they'd be waking him up in the night, and he just said, "Get this out of here." Devotees would use it, some. He didn't like that they would spend the money for long distance calls and send their letters. And it worked somehow or other, even though Prabhupada didn't get his mail sometimes for a couple months. Traveling. All right? So remember this verse, these two verses. This whole chapter is really nectar. Narada's instructions to yes. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited personality, and that means also the service of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Vaisheshika Prabhu, back when he was very, I don't know if he still does it, he was only like 17 or something, very sweet. And he would just hand people the Bhagavatam and say, "These are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men everywhere." And people would go, "Oh, I don't know," and they'd take it. The purifiers, transcendental literature, so we want them everywhere. This month in December, devotees all over the world are really increasing their fever for distributing books. At the Rath Yatra, they have book table all day and many books, and especially at the sanctuary, and they give away thousands of books. So many Thai people will be there, because not only our festival, but many people be there. Society, so-called leaders. Some countries, the leaders are appreciative, like Modi. No, he really appreciates. It wasn't that long ago where the Indian government people have nothing to do with any religion. They were told in Japan, and one man from the embassy was a devotee from Mathura, and he would come to the temple. Couldn't get anybody else to come. Even though the temple was on the same subway line and it cost about $1. They didn't have time. They had time to go shopping for electronics on Sunday, but they had no time for the temple. No money. But they were also told, don't connect with any religion. But now every time we have a temple festival, the big Indian ministers, people come. Modi comes. He visits temples all over the world, not only, all kinds of temples, other religions. So because so many books distributed, so much kirtan, so many temples, the whole atmosphere changes so decent people can be elected. Let's see what might happen in America one of these days. They're not ready for that, but the people are more and more interested in buying books like anything, looking for books, looking for Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna, welcome. I see that we had quite a few in the back today. Welcome. All right, any comments or questions?
I can ask a question, not about the topic, sorry, I didn't listen
Yeah.
didn't hear the
You were late, right?
I heard from some devotees that nowadays in Kali Yuga, yagya doesn't work So any yagyas what we perform, they doesn't work except some kirtana yagya. So now just people or devotees, someone who perform yagya, they do this just only for making the mind calm. Is it true or?
Yeah. When we do yagya, it's for, we need it, it's good for discipline, it's good for show. But without the kirtan, then it doesn't have value. Only the kirtan will have all the spiritual value you need. But the other things, just like deity worship also, it helps us to control the mind so we can chant better. But just doing all the mudras and doing everything perfectly and putting everything in the right, directions, and without the kirtan, it won't have any value.
So even the couple, when they come together for vivaha yagya, for example, it doesn't mean they will be connected with God. Or
Well, hopefully they will. But we always have kirtan. We don't just do a fire without kirtan. Right? So, like in Vrindavan, the deity installation, at that time the people, most of the so-called brahmanas, they wouldn't even take food for this kind of thing, because of nauseous. So Prabhupada had all these local pundits. 3 days they were doing so many things for the installation. But he also had the devotees doing 24-hour kirtan. And he said that's the real installation. He said, but if the people wouldn't have accepted that this is really installed deities if we did it. But because those people did it, then they accept. But Prabhupada said that kirtan is really did it. So but we do all those things because it helps us remember and concentrate, and it has benefit. But by itself, without kirtan, it's not. Mahayagya is like kirtan. But even then, that has to be done with the right consciousness, for the pleasure of Krishna. So like when we do a marriage yagya, you can get much more guests come to the temple than any other yagya, right? So it's good to do because then you have kirtan, everybody gets prasadam. And the whole ceremony with all the vows and everything, hopefully the couple will remember that when they get bumped, when there's trouble, which there always will be, something always. Right? There always has to be disagreement, there's always going to be some problem. But if the idea is you remember all these vows and all this ceremony, the pictures of your blissful, happy wedding. I saw one documentary, and it was all about these marriages where either the wife killed the husband or the husband killed the wife. But they had the pictures when they got married, everybody's so blissful and happy, and the first children. But then something goes wrong. Because they didn't have God consciousness. So the kirtan is a real thing, but the other ones is also important for us. Haridas Thakur didn't have to do anything. Haridas Thakur never had to do anything else, just chant and preach. That's also kirtan. He never went to Vrindavan. Many of Lord Chaitanya's associates, they never went to Vrindavan. They just in Mayapur. They didn't. need to go anywhere else. They go to Puri, but only to be with Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada introduces yoga, a very simple yoga. Now sometimes devotees maybe too much. And they think, we can't have a yoga unless we get this special Brahman who knows all the people. Maybe impresses some people, but like in Bali, the devotees are very good at the yoga. Make a really good show. But the people really like it, and the government will invite devotees to come. But then we always have kirtan. But you got to be careful, because at one temple, they were getting, Indian members to sponsor yoga every week on Sunday. When I was there, and they weren't having kirtan. They were so busy doing this yoga, so everything perfectly. He said, you have to have kirtan. Yoga is fine, but you got to have the kirtan also. Otherwise, it's not complete. So then they started having kirtan. Everybody was much happier. They still do the yoga. They're having a fire yoga at the Patiya Rathayatra. At least the one at the sanctuary. Big. And the Buddhist temples do that. In Japan, we had it was a long time ago, we did a yoga. And one of the Japanese guests was saying, oh, that was so beautiful, the fire was so wonderful. Nobody had ever said, oh, the deity is so beautiful. I never heard it anyway. But the fire, they can perceive it. Prabhupada said the fire yoga is for less advanced people, but, they can see something's happening. Throw something in there and it burns up. But kirtan has to be there. Then they'll hear the kirtan and get purified. All right?
Yes, ma'am. So we have a temple here, and downstairs we have a space.
Yeah.
And then that's a place for like someone, couple, they want to marry or something.
Yeah.
That's a very good to give them. Sometimes they want to bring their own priest. This can be allowed then. No, right? We have to be on our own, right?
Not if it's not in front of the deities.
Okay.
Like I think in Bombay they do that. They get prasadam from, but they have their own ceremony. But it's in a hall. It's not in a temple.
Okay.
Only initiated devotees are supposed to be right in front of the deity. In the Hindu temple in Africa, they had upstairs, they had a huge Radha Krishna, 6 feet big. And they had Sitaram and they had Shiva and Parvati. But the temple room was almost always empty. They don't offer anything. They don't offer programs. But they have a good show. But then they have these pujaris from India. They're mostly sitting downstairs doing yagas for people, getting money. And just they can say a bunch of mantras and have a fire and people like that. And that's how they make their money. Because they're Mayavadis, even though they have Radha and Krishna deity. So temples like London, they make a lot of income from weddings. See, we should be the priest for everybody. So funerals, weddings, births, everything, they should be coming to us.
Yeah.
But then we should always have kirtan. We should always give people books. Like one devotee in Hawaii, when he was householder, he made a wedding business. First he had weddings on the boat, and he had underwater weddings, and
Yeah, so many.
sunrise wedding. Usually they have sunset, but he did sunrise. But he gave everybody at the wedding a Bhagavad Gita. You know, even though he wasn't advertising himself as a devotee. He preached. We have to make sure that everybody gets prasadam, real prasadam. They don't bring their own food.
Yeah,
And hopefully there'll be kirtan.
yeah. That's what they want, Maharaj, because we Thai Nepali society also they also ask me this. So for example, in the summertime, the kids are they are summer and they want to go to this we call the like a Hindi class.
Yeah.
So they also so we can do that in downstairs, right, Maharaj?
Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Good. You want them to come, but then you have the temple and you have prasad and you have kirtan,
Yeah,
so they get that.
yeah.
We want to cater to everything. All right. SEIMAD Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.